Kia ora, good morning, and welcome to Love Literacy Inspired, a podcast where we explore the real stories behind Aotearoa's literacy journeys. I'm Heather Down, founder of Love Literacy and passionate advocate for structured, evidence-based teaching. And in each episode, I sit down with inspiring New Zealanders, teachers, parents, advocates, and learners to hear how literacy has shaped their lives, their works, and their hearts. Whether you're in the classroom, at the kitchen table, or just keen to learn, I'm so glad you're here. So let's dive in. And today I'm so excited to have Ali Fullick here, who is the founder and creative director of Innerlinks Decodable Limited. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, awesome. Now, we've actually known each other for a wee while. So we used to work together a few years ago. I was actually trying to think about how long ago it was. Maybe 2020 or?
Yeah. Around that 2020, 2021, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a little while. But before we get into too much of the journey, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
I can. Obviously, maybe a little bit, Heather. Let's tell everybody about me. So I am. I'm married to Sean, another teacher. We've come over from the UK in 2006. I have three wonderful children, two boys and one girl. Two are now in Australia, and one in Auckland, so I don't get to see them as much as I'd like to. My youngest son is severely dyslexic and has ADHD. And this is part of the journey that's taken me to where I am today. And so we decided to come over to New Zealand. We both had totally different careers. And we decided to really change things up as we were getting older, and we wanted to just change our lives. So we decided, what could we do? And after my son, who aged 5, really showed signs of struggling in school, I got an interest in how I could help him. We tried 2 or 3 schools here in New Zealand. We're in the Bay of Plenty. He refused, did the old crossy arms and refused to go to school.
Oh, yes.
And so I was getting I felt the pressure. And so I was not a teacher. I used to be a hairdresser. I used to own salons in the UK. So I was a bit like Nikki, a hairdresser, your previous podcast lady. So I decided this was just going to have to change. I needed to try and help him. So I ended up being a teacher aide. And then I went into college to do again as a teacher aide. And then life's all about who you meet, I reckon, don't you? Like it's about... Yeah. So somebody told me, said, it was somebody in the college said, you need to go and get yourself educated in your teaching education.
Yeah.
It was going to be, they advised me to do the sort of down the counselling side. They thought I had, that was my path. And anyway, I decided I wanted to be a teacher first, and then I would decide whether later on I'd go down the psych route. And so that was that, and I ended up going to teachers college and becoming a teacher, and so did my husband. So we both became teachers. We learned at the same time, and he did second high school and I did primary, and so that's where we are with our journey. And our children have helped me actually with being now a author, because my daughter is a graphic designer and my son is in social media and branding. So when I first started up, this is how I got to where I am today, and now I do it all by myself. But that they helped me. So it's been a lovely journey. New Zealand's really helped, given us the opportunity, I think, which has been really, really good. So, so we're now happily living in Papamoa in the Bay of Plenty. And I have a reading dog as well. His name's Eddie. And he comes into I still tutor. So I tutor in a couple of schools, and I now do my Decodable books. So I was a teacher for 11 years or so, and then you and I worked together, Heather, so with Learning Matters, and I was the assessor there for them for a short while, and then decided to go out on my own. Yeah, you look like an angel, Heather.
I
You've
was
got your
just gonna
sun
say,
here.
I think I'll just look at, I was like, oh my gosh, the sun is rising behind me.
Your true self.
Yeah. For anybody just listening on Spotify, I'll just tell you what happened if you don't watch this. I've got a window behind me and the sun started rising, and all of a sudden I had a halo.
You have these beams of light.
These beams
like it's very beautiful.
Yeah, anyway, that's so it's actually been, you've had quite a long and varied career. I didn't actually realize that yeah, prior to doing what you're doing now, because I met you when you had you done Speld? It was Speld, wasn't it? So we met and you had just done your Speld certification. So what was the I'm guessing it would have been your son because it's quite similar to me. My son being dyslexic, he sort of helped me on my pathway with starting to do what I did. Was it when you found out that he had dyslexia that made you think, oh, I'm going to go and get a little bit get more qualified, or what led you to doing Spelled?
Led me to doing Speld was during my teaching career, I was a new entrant teacher for 5 years. And although I was trying to do everything to advocate for Callum, I found that it was really difficult without having the knowledge yourself. So becoming a teacher helped me do that.
Yeah.
But as you probably would agree with me, it's really hard teaching your own child.
Yes.
But I knew that I could help others, and I was just, again, I feel that people, you go on these pathways that you have a passion about, and I was really passionate about literacy, whether it was to help my own son or whether to help, it was just very natural to me. So I was I think it was one of your other podcasts that you did. Somebody else was a reading recovery teacher, and so was I. And so I just had that sort of passion to then go further. So from reading recovery, I then wanted to learn more. So I reached out to Speld NZ, and then got my accreditation through that. So and then became qualified Spell tutor, and then I obviously met you and worked with you for a while. So that's how it became. And I'm still a Spell tutor as well. I sit under the umbrella of a Spell NZ, and I still tutor. So and I think it's important that I do that to keep on the ground and keep fresh with what teachers are feeling, and how I can help them. And I find that really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I don't know about you, but when I'm tutoring, sometimes it helps me keep on going with that learning journey, because there's always something that comes up in a tutoring lesson, or perhaps we meet someone that we haven't met before, and they're learning in a slightly different way, or we've just discovered something that we want to delve into, but the tutoring gives us that sort of opportunity to put all of that into practice.
Yeah, and it is that's why I started writing, was because of one of the children I was working with. And again, I find that every day you have these little moments of well, if that child is showing some enthusiasm about that, I'm sure there's others. So that's when you go off and then you create other things and resources and ideas. And then obviously I work into schools. So teachers are always sort of we're giving feedback to each other. What's the latest? What are you finding? And how are these children coming into school now at age 5? And what do we need? And how can we support teachers? And teachers like sharing, like Ajay, they're really good at sharing with each other. So, and offering advice and just conversation. So that's why. And Speld NZ have been absolutely fantastic organisation, and they've been very supportive. So so I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, awesome. So just talking a little bit about or moving on a little bit. So we did you were a hairdresser, and then you trained as a teacher, did Speld, spent some time at Learning Matters, and then we all ended up going our separate ways and running our private practice. Um, and then it was then that you started delving into the decodables.
By complete fluke.
By complete fluke. So talk me through how you fluke becoming an author. Okay.
Never dreamt it in a million years. My mother still can't believe it. So yeah, it's been through my tutoring, it happened. So as a tutor, you do all what you possibly can. When you're working with neurodiverse children, sometimes it's tough, like as for them and for us as a person on beside them at a table, trying to enthuse some of these children is really difficult. And I was working with one particular child and had great strengths in art and drawing, and wanted to talk about art and drawing. And I was almost at, oh my gosh, I really don't know where to go from here now. I'm stuck. Right. Anyway, so we were just chatting one day, and I said, look, and I put the pen down, put the paper down, and I said, I want to know what's going to excite you. And he said, I just want to draw. So I said, okay, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. I'm going to put the timer on, and the timer's going to go around. I'm going to give you complete free 5-minute free brain break, and you're going to draw. And so that's what we did. From that 5-minute brain break, he drew a picture of it was a boy on a bike. And so I was like, great. The timer went off, and he's obviously, with the structure of my program, he knows when the timer's off, he stops. So he did, and we talked about the drawing. I said, fabulous. We talked about all the details, immense detail in this thing. And I said, hey, should we just make a story about it? Should we write a story? And it came from there. So he said, and he was like, oh, really? Do I have to? Anyway, so I said, I've given you the opportunity to draw. I'll tell you what, I'll write for you. You just tell me, and blah, blah, blah. And so we did. And again, vivid imagination. The vocab was rich. It was a beautiful start of a story. So I started to scribe, and we wrote this story. And anyway, by that time, it was near enough time to go. And the next week, he came back to me, and I'd finished the story, right? And I'd sort of like done this thing and put his imagery of his drawing into the style that I sort of thought, okay, I'll change it up. Because what he said to me was, he said, I said to him, we had this conversation of, if you could pick up a book, if you could create books yourself, what would you draw them like? And he said, I'd like them like a movie. He said, I love watching movies. He was a complete movie freak. And so I just said, okay. Anyway, so when the next week came round, I'd, through a program and an AI program, I had managed to change his pencil drawing into a movie styled image.
Wow.
And he got so excited. And I'd written this little blurb in a story, just a short story from the words that he'd given me, and I'd just finished it off for him, and he got so excited. Right, can we do another one? And I said, yes, you can, but this time you're going to write it. And so, and that's how it started. So we'd written about 3 or 4 together, obviously shown the mum, and the mum got really excited, and then she went and showed her school, and then they came back with the feedback is, you should get onto this, you should write. And so I thought, oh, no, who would want to look at my books? So they just said, well, I think it's worth pursuing. And so that's where it's come from. So with the knowledge we have, with the sort of qualifications that you and I have, I was able to write a decodable book. And then with my daughter being a graphic designer, I'd said to her, hey, can you just help me here? Because I had no idea about Photoshop or any idea. And so she gave me, we did conference calls like you and I are doing now. And she taught me, and I had some lessons from her, just basic. And then my son, I was telling my son about it, and he said, oh, I can set you up with a little bit of a website and things. So he did. And then I sort of put my typical author or writer hat, when you see the mad professor and your hair's all over the place. And I'd put my dressing gown on in the morning, and I wouldn't come out until like 3 weeks later. I was like so engrossed in it. And I loved it. And so that's where that's where it's come from. So I use a very specific scope and sequence.
And can you tell us a little bit about the scope and sequence?
Yes, sure. So the scope and sequence is tailored around a phonics program called UFly.
I was just sort of thinking that for the people that don't know what UFly is.
Yes, so UFly stands for the University of Florida Institute. And so Literacy Institute, and it is a program, a phonics program, very structured, that follows the evidence-based science of reading, science of learning procedures. Founder is a lady called Dr. Holly Lane. And I was lucky enough to go over to Australia and do some PLD with her. And so it's basically a phonics program. It's a complete comprehensive phonics program. It's very reasonably priced. It's a very good program. So I liked it. I use it with my students. And once you buy the manual, everything else is completely free. All the digital resources are free. There's games on board and things like that. So for a lot of people on a low budget, it's a very good program. If you want a good solid program, it's a good one to use. It's not very widely used here in New Zealand.
Which is interesting because it's, oh my gosh, I've got that.
We've got angels again.
Okay, remind me, 10 o'clock in July is having to spin myself around and around. No, it's not very widely used in New Zealand, but it is it's evidence-based, research-based, and I mean, I've definitely had a look at it and have used some of the resources, and I know I can kind of see where you're coming from, or what I can understand what led you to create the stories behind it as well, because some of the digital resources are it's just that small passage, but
yes, that's right. So and the reason Holly created them as a passage, so for those people that are on Spotify or don't know how it looks, it's a very thick manual. Inside it, you've got these passages that have a text box above, where your child could possibly summarize and use their comprehension after reading the passage to draw a picture afterwards. And then there's a passage underneath. And there is a reason for her just doing it that way, obviously, for when you are teaching in a classroom and you don't want the distraction or any other cognitive overload for some children. That's why she's not done any visuals. My books, my decodables are to supplement and for fluency. They are not for the first opportunity to read. Like if you're introducing a spelling pattern, you wouldn't show the book before you've taught the information. So it's the same. So this is they're all for supplementary benefit for any program. So it's massive in America. It's like structured literacy has been used way before we've got it here in New Zealand. So they are obviously more experienced to sort of dip in and dip out. So they have lots of you can use a variety of books and dip in, dip out. Whereas I think in New Zealand, because structured literacy is quite fresh and teachers are so focused on learning structured literacy in the structure and the procedure itself. So they're tailoring to, if you're taking on Liz Kane, then you tend to generally use Liz Kane's Little Learners Love Literacy books. So, but until you're experienced enough to be able to then dip in, dip out, knowing that it doesn't matter what book you pick up as long as it matches what you've been teaching at the time or you're reviewing. So yes, so my books are tailored to the scope and sequence of UFly, and they are they're doing very well in America. I have a contract with an American.
I was actually just going to ask you about that, because I mean, obviously we're from New Zealand, but UFly is obviously America. And so we've got the books in New Zealand and international markets. But I was going to ask, what's the experience like trying to, well, not trying because you've done it, but what was the experience like managing to get your books out there in America and holding true to some of the good Kiwi values that we have as well?
Yeah, in fact, it's gone the route. Normally, people have been saying to me, and I've been going to business sort of ventures and asking lots of questions about how I grow a small business like myself. They say, well, if you hit America, you're sweet. And so, and I went, I found America easier than I have New Zealand. So, and I write two versions. So I write an American English version and I write a New Zealand English version.
Because there are some really subtle differences with the language, like mom and some of the vowel sounds and not the vowel sounds, sorry, the diphthong sounds are slightly different. Yeah,
absolutely. So I have two versions. So I've had to get my head around that as well. So what it was is because America have been using UFly and it's very widely used. They have on the UFly website, they have a decodable book text guide. And if you go onto that website, you can see all the companies that have books that match the scope and sequence of UFly. And UFly have got my books on their website. So when I asked permission, I wrote to them and I said to them, would you like my books on your decodable website? I sent them my books. They said, oh, yes, please. So they're on there. So I actually found it it was just quite seamless for me. And then, I'm very lucky, I think, again.
I don't know. Like, people say they're really lucky, but I think like what you've done is you followed a scope and sequence, you planned it out, they're illustrated beautifully, they look really good. You've taken into account the differences with language. So there's like, when we say we're lucky, there's actually just so much more that's gone into the background that's enabled you to move seamlessly in.
Well, thank you for that. Maybe, there's been lots of hard work. And then I reached out to a big distributor that works with the ministries of education out there. It works very differently here over there than it does over here. They have
Okay.
districts,
Mm.
and they have basically a company that sends packs of books
Mm.
to schools.
Mm.
So, whereas schools here generally will choose their own books and then they will go and purchase them.
Quite autonomous, really. It's up to the budget and the school and
Whereas over there,
yeah.
they have a company that organizes massive packs
Mm.
for if you're short on resources for the junior level, they will send out a decodable pack that has got a range of books in, not just mine, but a range of books in that go to all the districts.
Yeah.
So it's but very different. Anyway, so that's how I did America, and they've been successful there since early 2024. So not that long. Again, I'm quite new into the business. It's only it's quite new.
Yeah.
And so I'm now investigating, trying to allow to spread them throughout New Zealand and Australia. That's where my next is your sort of avenues are. They're in my local libraries, but it's tough out there. Schools are they're learning this sort of new structured math, structured literacy, and so they're really head down at the moment. So I've
Yeah.
got to be I'm in it for the long haul. So I've just got to let it just work its
Yeah.
way and work hard at get, like you say, all the background stuff.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
hopefully people will enjoy the different sort of style that they are. They're very different than what you would normally see.
Yeah.
And so, but they have the same procedure as a very good structured literacy decodable book.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and they have the comprehension quiz at the back. They have a fun fact. They also have a free game at the back, just so I try and get, as a teacher myself, I think, again, that's really helpful. I'm not just a writer, I'm a teacher. So I know what needs to be inside you, like yourself, with all the wonderful things that you do. We know what we would want, so surely other people would want it. So
Yeah.
um,
And I've got this thing and I've been wanting to talk to you about it. And it was a saying, carrot in the bolognese. And I
oh,
think I think that's it, isn't it? And I was sitting there going, oh, oh, I know what you mean. The hidden vegetable. The hidden vegetable, yeah.
and that's the thing, isn't it? You've got,
Mm.
because if you're lucky enough to sort of have a class, if you're a classroom teacher, for
Mm.
example, and you're lucky enough to have everyone wanting to pick up books and wanting to read and write and all of things, that's great, and you don't have to have the hidden vegetables.
Yes,
But if you have got a child who you need to sneak in the odd hidden vegetable there and there to get the same result,
yes.
then that's what my philosophy is, really, because I use that from my son, who was so not wanting to
Yeah.
pick up a book. And I saw his frustration. I got it as a parent. I really understood. So it was like, okay, well, how can you deliver this delicious meal
Yeah.
without knowing it? So that's why the feedback that I've got is positive, because of the visuals, that the kids want to turn the page because they like the movie style images. So that's my carrot in my bolognese.
It's the
So
carrot and the bolognese, yes. I just think that is so clever. It's very clever. Um, and I just came across this by chance actually, and I was thinking, oh, I'm so glad I saw that so that we're able to chat about it. But I did see an animated version. So talk me through the anime, and I literally saw that yesterday.
what did you think?
I thought it looked awesome. It was like a dinosaur running, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to look any further because I thought it would be really cool to talk about it.
Oh, that's hot off the press. Yeah, no,
Off the press.
that was uh yeah, I've been messing around. Like I'm sure like a lot of people who want to learn, and it's a journey, isn't it? So anything that you can learn is a good thing. So came from one of my characters. Um, so
Oh,
Dan is a dinosaur, and it was this image that I turned into a short movie clip.
yeah.
I taught myself how to do it, and yeah, I taught him how to do it. So I was playing basically, but that's how you learn, isn't it?
That's how
You
you
just
learn.
have to
Yeah.
experiment. So I thought, what a better way to just try and sort of, with social media, it's quite hard to, everyone's doing all the
Yep.
influencing thing and trying to get out there. So I was just messing around. And so I thought, I wonder whether I could do it with one of my characters. And I did. So so I will be pursuing that a bit further and learning a bit more about that. That's my next thing, how to turn them into little clips.
Oh, that's
So
really cool.
yeah, so basically that's what I was just doing that last week, and I thought I'll put it out there.
And the idea is to basically have the little animated story like as a read along or
I don't know yet where it
no?
will go. I'm not
Oh yeah.
sure where it will go.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it for my promotional at the
Yeah.
moment. I'm using
Fair
it
enough.
for my promotional.
Mhm.
But there's the opportunity to then turn them into as a read along, as you say. So,
Yeah.
and so we will see how far I can take it. But who knows where it will go? But as you say, you just have to just
Yep.
try things and see whether you get feedback, and if people like it, then I'll pursue it more. So yeah, I wish there was more hours in the day, really, but
Oh, tell me about it. I sometimes
yeah.
feel like that. I don't know if you're ever like this, but sometimes I feel like I've got so much going on that when I do have like a small patch where I don't know where to start.
No, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly
Oh,
right.
oh, I
So
could feel like a deer in headlights sometimes.
yeah.
Oh, that's really awesome. So one of my questions was here, if you could go back to the beginning teacher of you, um,
I
what
wasn't
advice?
grey then.
Ah, you knew us with
Yes.
what advice would you give your well, actually, let's think of this in two ways. If you could go back to you as the mum of a dyslexic you're parenting a dyslexic child. What
Yeah.
advice would you give yourself first as a mum? And then what advice would you give yourself as a teacher? Two parts.
So as a mum, um, I would give the advice of definitely carry on as I did as an advocate for my son. So you have to be an active voice.
Yeah.
And so if I was a parent of a son and my son was 6, I wouldn't wait any longer. I wouldn't wait till 7. If I started to see signs that had some concerns, I would start questioning. And now schools are way more educated than they were when my son was younger. I think it would be easier now to get the ball rolling and to get some assessments done. And if there was any concerns, then those could be activated straight away. And as a tutor and teacher and of my world now, what would I say to myself? Gosh, God, what a journey that I thought I'd never go down. So um, your world's your oyster. So don't think that you can't do anything, because you can. And if whatever I never thought in a million years that, for one, I'd be a teacher. For two, I where I am today with my
Mm,
book little
mm,
business that's just tricking along. So and yeah, it's, you've got to have determination,
mm.
and also that one thing that my weakness, and I'm going to be quite clear about, is I don't have much self-worth. I think I'm not this, oh, look at my wonderful books, blah, blah, blah. And I've hidden it all, and just sitting and just, oh, this is what I'm enjoying, and it's just ticking along. But I need to have more confidence in myself. And so as a teacher, you should just go, if I want to have a go, then I'm going to have a go, because you can't, failing is really good, and it's very healthy. And I think we say it to our children that it's part of learning, and it is, but it is a feeling you have to process. We're getting, nowadays we've got, I find that some children aren't as resilient as they could be, and we've got to let them fail and then get back up again and move forward, take that step forward, and then you learn, and then you evolve. And so I've evolved into a completely different person I was before.
Look, me too. And I often, it actually just made me think about something that I always think about my dyslexic son. And I think, oh, if only, if only, if only. But looking back on it as well, I mean, that's his path. Like, we can't change that. And I can't look back on that now and say, if only. But through all of those things that happened to him, he picked himself up. He's incredibly resilient. And I feel like I'm resilient now too, because we went through all of that. We picked ourselves, made a pathway forward. Yeah,
you
it's
have to. And
yeah,
actually, out of all of my, I've got, as I said, 3 children.
yes,
Out of the 3 of them, Callum is the most resilient, because he's had to build those strategies. He's had
setbacks.
to find other ways. And yeah, if he's got a problem, he'll solve it. Whereas the others will go, oh, how do I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that? So it's such a skill, and one that, so as a teacher myself, I've had to learn that myself and go, actually, it's okay for things not to work out. And other people to know that it hasn't worked out, but that's okay. So as long as you step forward and just give it a go, because there's nothing worse than going on, I'm not going to explore that avenue, I'm not going to do that, and because you'll never know,
well,
and so
no.
what's the worst that can happen, so
And that's it. And no, we were watching a sports documentary, and it's Michael Jordan. Okay, I know this is completely unrelated to literacy, but one of the interview questions he got was, do you ever worry, just before you take a shot, do you ever worry about it not going in? And he said, why worry about something that hasn't happened? And I thought, oh my gosh, what a profound piece of advice. You can't worry about the things that aren't happening.
and if
Um,
it does happen, okay,
Deal with it when it does. Mm,
deal with it when it does, and then find a solution.
yeah,
So there's always a
yeah.
solution to a problem. So yeah, it's all mindset, isn't it,
Mm,
really?
mm.
So yeah, it's positivity is a wonderful thing.
It
So
is.
we're very lucky to work with the people we do, because it
I think
gives
so.
us such inspiration.
Yeah.
And not only just colleagues with expertise with the children as well. I get a lot from the kids, so
Mm.
yeah, it's good. So yeah, together we're a good team.
Oh, no, that's awesome. Now, just before we go, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to let everybody know, where are you most active on social? Where is the best? Where are? What is the best avenue for people to find you?
Um, currently, at the moment, if anybody wants to view my books, then just head out to www.innerlinks.info, and they can find me there. I am exploring and learning how to do social media as far as Instagram. So just watch this space. I'm having I've I'm working with a consultant at the moment who's doing some social media for me. So I haven't got time. I need to write.
Yes.
So,
Fair enough. Yeah, of course.
yeah, very shortly you can find me on Instagram. But at the moment, my website is www.innerlinks.info, and you can find me there. Or get in touch with you, Heather, and I'm sure you can pass on my details
Yeah,
and my
yeah.
telephone number.
I'll pop a little link in the show notes so that people, when they're watching or listening, can pop in.
Yeah, and
And
just point to note that the scope and sequence on the back, it can be used for any evidence-based structured literacy program, any good phonics program, they are good for. And if you're looking for something that is a little bit different, point of difference from anything else that's out there, yeah, feel free to have a look.
That's awesome. I think honestly, I feel like this has been such we're called Love Literacy Inspired, and the whole idea is to look at these journeys, and yeah, and I think you've got a really special story, and very inspiring story. And I hope people listen to this and just go, oh my gosh, I can do that little thing that I've got that I want to get started on, or yeah,
Yeah,
I sort of hope.
totally agree. Any idea that you've got going, then just work around it in the background, and you never know, it can get you to where you never know where it can take you. So if you don't try, you don't know. So yeah, give it a go. That's what I can say. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Ali, for joining me today and sharing your journey, because it can be daunting putting it out there, and yeah, letting everybody know how you got to where you got to. But no, a huge thank you. And yeah, now Mihi for joining us on Love Literacy Inspired. If this conversation lit a spark, please share it with someone who would love it too. So you can follow me on Spotify. You can listen to this on Spotify and YouTube. And until next time, keep sharing stories, asking questions, and loving literacy. Thank you so much, Ali, for your time today.
Thank you.